This episode of our podcast is brought to you by Doulaban Insurance. If you live in Ontario, Canada, and are looking for the best price and coverage for your Tesla, give Doulaban a call at 1-855-385-4226 or visit their website at doulabaninsurance.com/Tesla. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Isolation at Home podcast. I'm your host, Trevor Page. Hey, I got some good friends here tonight. I got Eric Camacho, I got Ian Pavelko, I've got Rafael Santoni, and Marc Benton for the first time on the podcast. Woo-hoo. How's everybody doing tonight?
Awesome. How are you guys?
Right.
Good.
Great. Good.
Mind the place?
Yeah.
Where am I?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm probably a little bit hot here. I'm going to turn my mic down a little bit. Sorry about that. You know what? Not a lot of Tesla news. We have a little bit. We'll get into it. But I thought we would have some fun tonight, do something a little different because we're all isolation and sitting at home. And I thought we would have this opportunity to talk about whatever the heck we want tonight. So it doesn't have to be necessarily Tesla. It can just be whatever's going on in your life, what your interests are and stuff. And then a little bit later on, we'll do a product or a book or an audiobook recommendation and stuff. We're not doing audience questions tonight because we have one extra guest that we normally have on the show, actually two. And so I think it's probably going to be, we'll have enough content to get us through the night. So having said that, not a lot of Tesla news, but I do want to mention a few things. First of all, Elon took to Twitter and said that reverse summon, what I call seek and park mode, is actually coming later this year. He took to Twitter here. Let me just bring it up. And he says, we're working super hard on getting traffic lights and stoplights released. Reverse summon auto park is what he calls it. Will be part of the core autopilot software upgrade for FSD later this year. Now, last week we were talking about FSD price increases, so expect probably a price increase when that comes out. So how many of you use the regular summon?
I use it sometimes. Usually I usually use it when I'm going to wash the car. I pull it out without getting in it so that the windows don't come down. And I put it back in without getting in the car.
Reverse summon is something I think would be a little bit more useful, but I don't trust it enough.
Nope.
Look at Marc. He's like, nope, not happening. All right, well, we're looking forward to that. Another bit of information here. Now, just so that everybody's aware, when I talk about EAP, I'm not talking about Enhanced Autopilot today because that's not what Tesla calls it anymore. I'm talking about the Early Access Program. Now, a Twitter user called Mike Larry, Mike Larry 88 says that Tesla's pushing out 2020 12.5.6, which has stop sign and stoplight support. He did release a screenshot of the email that he got. He says Tesla will be pushing out software version 2020 12.5.6 to the vehicle shortly. This software update contains our new traffic light and stop sign control in beta. It's a feature. It says, please review the attached release notes. So it goes on to say, saying that this feature will stop at all traffic lights, including green, blinking, yellow, and off lights. To proceed through an intersection, pull the autopilot stalk or briefly press the accelerator pedal to confirm that it is safe to proceed. That also says that the feature will not make turns through intersections, and the feature does not improve autopilot performance on very curvy roads. So anyways, interesting stuff coming out. Remember that this is early access program, so these people are supposed to be under a non-disclosure. So, some people are breaking the rules of the term, I guess. But anyways, it's nice to see that this is coming. I think Elon had said some time ago that they were looking at releasing this fairly soon, but because of regulatory problems or issues around the world, that we won't see it for the rest of the world until later this year. So it's going to be US only thing at first. So still no ETA when it's coming out for the public, but just beware that they are working on it and it's coming. All right, and last tidbit, if you haven't been paying attention, the battery / drivetrain investor day that they've been talking about has been pushed. It's actually been broken up into two parts. So the battery investor day will happen no earlier than mid-May, and the drivetrain will be later in the year. So I think Tesla's going to be splitting these up because apparently there's so much to talk about that they don't want to roll it all into one thing. Possibly. And I think we talked about this, earlier this week on a different show, that it could be because the two products are not necessarily ready for one another. So I don't know. I'm just speculating at this point. And late breaking news, because just before we started recording the show, Elon, of course, went to Twitter and started talking. So I figured we'd talk about this real quick. He said that they're working on increasing the dynamic air suspension travel for better off-road needs. He's talking about the Cybertruck here. He says they want to kick butt in Baja, which is pretty cool. And let's see here. And someone else had asked, what's the biggest change of the Cybertruck so far from prototype to unveil? Elon said, reduce this size by about 3%. The center line is more level and lower window sill height. So there's the tweet there if you guys want to see that. That's what he's talking about. So that's the late breaking news that we have for you. We'll have more information as things develop. But anyways, that's about it. That's what happens when you're locked down and nothing's happening. Only a little bit of Tesla information. It's mostly Elon tweets at this point. So, what's going on, guys?
I'm sure that Marc is excited about the Cybertruck news.
For those of you, I was going to say, for those of you
ahead,
who are
Ian.
not familiar with Marc Benton, we know the Cybertruck is polarizing. You either kind of love it or hate it. There are two of us here on the show that are confirmed lovers of it. Mr. Camacho, I don't think is such a big fan. Mr. Benton is probably well known for not being a fan. Tell us how you really feel.
Well, if you follow me on Twitter, you know very well how I feel. I just think that my opinion is I feel like I wish they would have made a different truck. That's, I'm a traditional truck lover. I've driven trucks my whole life, and I like traditional trucks. But, hey, it's not for everybody, right?
I think for the record, Marc doesn't have a problem with the specs. He just has a problem with the looks.
No, I love the interior. And even the front view of it, I don't mind.
It's the back.
It's that back end that's flat. It just looks terrible. I mean, I don't know anybody that looks at it and says, oh, that's a nice looking truck. They think it's cool.
To me, if you were to think of like a really bad paper mache product, and you were to sort of like make something together, I gotta take this piece of paper and fold it in a way to make it look like a car, and then your end result is like, oh, I think this is it, and someone's like, what is that? Oh, it's a truck, and someone's gonna look at you like, what the hell are you talking about? That is not a damn truck. When I first saw it, like the specs blew me away, right? Like I was watching the reveal, I'm like, the specs are amazing. And then the sucker comes out, I'm like, what on God's green earth is that damn thing? What? That is not a truck. That's a tank. Like, get out of here with this.
Exactly.
And then I'm imagining on the road, and I'm seeing like this week all the wraps and stuff. I'm like, guys, it's okay. The wrap idea. No, here we go. The wraps.
Here we go. Eric's rant is starting.
Imagine you go to the gym and you see a person who's got the worst foot fungus you've ever seen in your life. Nails haven't been cut in a couple of years. There's more yellow than Big Bird. It's just the nastiest thing. And then someone says, it'd be great? Acrylic nails on it. That's wrapping the Cybertruck. No, leave it alone.
I cannot tell you how many people on Twitter say, oh, you're going to like it if you can wrap. And everybody knows I mod my cars, right? Mm-hmm. So everybody's like, oh, you could do this too. I can't wait to see a Marc Benton modded Cybertruck. I'm like, listen, there's nothing that I can do with that exterior to make it good looking. Like, it is what it is, If you could somehow wrap it to make it look like a Model Y, you'd be okay. But you can't. Right.
You can't.
Right.
I've been telling my Twitter followers I'm going to wrap it with French fry graphics so that it makes everybody hungry.
Don't wait.
And what? Tell them to try to catch up? I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
But with that said, I know why people like it. First off, it's Tesla, right? And the specs are amazing. And some people don't care about the exterior design.
I love it. I love the way it looks. I wasn't like that all the time. But.
No way. Everybody had this period. I think a lot of the people who do like it, I don't know a single person, honestly, I don't know a single person when I drove out on stage that loved it. The universal reaction was, what the hell is that?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those things that grows on you. Well, either you hate it or you love it. But a lot of the people that were off on it at first, a lot of people, it took them a week, a few days. I mean, you have to remember, the designers spent months and months and months with this thing. So, whatever design direction they went with, it's like they're used to it, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's absolutely a shocking vehicle.
Well, it's going on, 6 months later? And I still feel the same way.
No. If you didn't get into it after a week, you're gone. That was basically, I think, the cutoff was a week. If you didn't warm up to it after a week, you ain't never going to warm up to this.
If you were to offer me $100 deposit and go, Eric, I'll actually put the money on your behalf, I'd say save your money. Just don't even bother. In fact, just give me the $100 and I'll do better with it.
Well, the crazy thing, Eric, is I actually have a reservation for one.
That's it. I'm leaving the show.
But when he follows through with it, it's a different story.
Yeah, well, I followed through with it. That's a whole different story. I literally reserved it within seconds of him announcing it. I mean, I was like, I'm reservation like 600 and something. And I was hoping, I was like, please, something change. Please.
Make those panels fall off and reveal the real truck underneath, right?
Exactly.
I know. I heard a lot of people say the same thing there too.
Yeah.
They're like expecting that.
But to me, it's $100. It's $100 to just see what happens. It's not going to change. I don't think they're going to change it.
Not drastically.
No. And I won't order if it's like it is. That's okay.
It's okay.
That's
not
okay.
for everybody.
Exactly.
I've seen it on a rap video, and under the right colors, it looks nice.
Well, it's certainly attention getting, and for people, I mean, remember they're not going to be badging this thing. So for somebody who wants to buy one as a marketing tool, I mean, you can ask for a better product as far as marketing, whether you like it or not. It's going to turn heads.
I agree with that 100%.
I think the police should jump into it like big time.
Ontario Provincial Police have been looking at it very seriously.
Here's one of my concerns is if that is that 30X cold rolled steel or whatever, it's legit, right? If that thing runs into another car, it's gonna destroy that car. I mean, it's a tank.
Tesla only cares about the occupants in their cars.
You're right. Well, should we? I mean, it's like the safety of it is going to be really safe for the person driving it.
Yeah.
But whatever it hits, I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see.
I'd love to see them do crash tests with the Cybertruck and like a Model S, just to see what happens.
Well, I can tell you there will be a large kind of like postal box square in whatever part of the Model S it hits.
Yeah.
I mean, agree. I honestly, that's a really, really good point. It's been brought up a lot in discussion is how is this thing going to compress or crumple? And I have to think at some point it will. When you talk about what this is going to weigh and the amount of energy it's carrying, in the same way that, a frame is collapsible in a vehicle, the exoskeleton has to be compressible in certain directions. And I mean, Tesla being Tesla and their engineers being their engineers, I have to think they've done some calculations to figure this out. Because if it was literally that strong, you'd have this situation like cars from the 1950s, which you could famously drive into a phone pole, kill the occupants, rinse the interior out, and sell the car to the next guy. I don't think they're going to let that happen. In order for you to survive the G-forces, the thing has to compress. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah, the government's not going to let that.
No, exactly. So the magic is going to be what's going on internally with that exoskeleton.
They will engineer some weak points in it so that it has some give.
That's what I have to think.
They have to.
Maybe you can score the material from the inside.
I think it shouldn't. I think it shouldn't be a negative point because right now SUVs and pickup trucks are super, really strong, and anyone that gets hit by one of those, first of all, probably the majority of the cars on the road right now are big vehicles, right, including trucks and SUVs. So I don't think it's going to be worse to be hit by a Cybertruck than being hit by a F-250 or
I would politely disagree with that, and for two reasons that I think. Number one is the overall weight and mass of a moving vehicle is completely different, for example, on a Ford F-150 versus a Cybertruck. Now, we obviously don't know the performance tests, but we know that the acceleration, the way that the vehicle is going to move, the way it's contoured, the material it's made out of, you don't find that, you don't drive a bulletproof Ford. Right? You're not driving that car. The car is designed to have some give when it gets impacted. And I've seen a number of pickup trucks in accidents that the cab is almost demolished because just the way the force is and the fight. Right. It's just, that's what's going to happen. You know what I mean? The Cybertruck from end to end is a massive freaking beast. So it is entirely possible that the force of the Cybertruck hitting the same passenger vehicle at the same rate of speed will be completely different than a Ford F-150 hitting the same vehicle. Now, again, height off the ground, there's other factors at play here. But I think the trucks that we have today are going to be a little less damaging than the Cybertruck. Number two is the the purpose of the Cybertruck, the way they designed it, is to be almost an indestructible vehicle. So by and large, they're telling you from the very outset, this is meant to take a beating. If they're saying you can drive it up a freaking creek in the middle of the woods and actually literally have a bear on your roof holding a machete, like, let's go. I mean, that's the way they're going to market it. It's look, had the glass not broken when it was hit with the ball, right? I mean, that infamous video that we know, it still shows you like they're smashing this with a sledgehammer and everyone's like, nope, not a dent, not a scratch on it. If I take the same sledgehammer and hit a Ford F-250, I'm denting the hell out of that damn door, right? So that alone is going to tell me that if there were to be a collision, it's going to be really bad for the person outside of the Cybertruck.
I just think that what Trevor said about them probably designing something so that it crumples properly is going to have a lot to do with the security for the other vehicles, right?
Right, but I mean, you're still talking about a stainless steel tank coming at you.
I've seen more than one person comment on the internet, well, what about pedestrians?
You can hit a pedestrian with a motorcycle and you can kill them. So,
well, exactly my point. Like, at what point are we protecting pedestrians now?
But I don't think. But yeah, coming back to the pickup comparison, I don't think there's any difference with a heavy duty pickup. I mean, you look at the height of the hood, the grille, everything else. I'm sorry, I don't. Unless you're 8 feet tall, you're not going over and crumpling into the nice, sort of soft landing of the hood as you are in a passenger car. I think it's the same concern. I don't think there's any modern pickup which is particularly friendly to pedestrians. The crash thing, I want to see vehicle to vehicle. I think there's a lot of open question marks there, but I don't think any pedestrian is going to fare well against any pickup truck.
Mm-hmm. And if you remember, I compared it to the F-250, right? The F-250 is beefier, and there's a bunch of the
bigger a lot
trucks.
Higher. Yeah, I mean, when you're talking like the top of the hood on these things is coming at your neck. So I don't care which pickup truck we're talking about. You're just not going to do well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not to mention they got the 350 and the 450, which are even bigger.
Right, 550, 650.
Yeah,
and you get into the commercial ones.
What are we treating these like Fast and the Furious sequels? What are you talking about here?
No, big trucks. Big trucks are in, man. Mark has what do you have? A Ram 1500?
Yeah, Bighorn. 1500.
I gotta say, this isn't like an America thing. It drives me nuts. It's a disgusting culture. Mark, please, I'm trying not to kill Mark. It is nothing more than a male culture of I gotta have a big effing truck. There's a reason.
You're right.
I'm almost guaranteed the reason Ford has them F something is because F stands for something that isn't Ford, right? Like it's just, and the bigger the number, the bigger the balls. Like it's just one of those things. I'm like I saw a guy trying to park at the mall a while back before the coronavirus thing happened, and he's parking on the mall and he's got this massive Ford 350. And it is just a beast. And the only spot he's trying to get into is like a compact spot because he's just like, I got to run in really quickly and get something.
2 spots.
And he literally had to park across the spot. So he literally took up like 5 parking spaces because he's like, I got to run in for a second. And I'm like, guy. And he's like, what's the big deal? I'm going to be right back. It's that I can drive anywhere, park anywhere, do whatever I want because look at the size of my truck. And I'm like, to me, you better have the tiniest balls ever because seriously, you're making up for something.
Do you know who else feels that way, Eric? Everybody that's bought the Cybertruck.
Oh my God.
That's why they're buying the Cybertruck. They want a big beast thing.
Yeah.
It's this hunk. I've got a buddy who's got a Dodge Ram dually.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a 10-inch lift on it with 40-inch tires. It is a monster. I posted it actually on Twitter a while back. It's it's ridiculous. Like he can't even pull in a parking spot.
It's like a Mission Impossible. Trying to get into like the. I'll be right back. I'll be back in 6 minutes. Where are you going? I got to get in my truck and get my keys. Like what are you talking about?
But the nice thing is it tows a fifth wheel really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so big, it tows really, really well. That's why a lot of people get big trucks, is because the heavier your vehicle is, the better it tows.
But there are a ton of people I know that have that truck that don't tow a damn thing.
Well,
like
most people don't.
I might need to carry a sheet of plywood someday. I might need to carry a sheet of plywood someday, maybe. So I need to buy one.
Gee, if only your Model X could ever fit that. Oh my goodness, what are we?
Oh no, never in the Fabergé egg. No.
Splinters.
I want the Cybertruck for the road trips, man. I'm gonna camp in that sucker. That's what I want it for.
That's one of the reasons I like the Cybertruck. Now, we may all disagree on the styling, but the one thing I love about it is you don't have to apologize for driving this massive vehicle. I mean, finally, something that's environmentally friendly. The body will last forever. You can recycle the stainless steel. I mean, it's got a tiny fraction of the carbon footprint, assuming you run it over a long lifetime. And there's no reason that truck shouldn't run 20, 30 years, who knows how long.
You're always going to apologize because you're going to park somewhere and someone's going to see you get out and they're going to look at you and they're going to go, Ian! And you go, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had to get it. I'm sorry.
I know it's big and it's taking up all this room.
I know. Yeah. I'm sorry. I know I wrapped it fuchsia. I'm sorry. I wanted it to stand out.
No, for the record, I'm probably the only person on this podcast or in the community who does not actually have a Cybertruck reservation because I can't even fit in my garage. I don't have anything. Oh, that's true. You don't have one either. Okay, so I don't feel so bad.
My angle with the truck is because it came from the other person that lives with me, because she's made a lot of noise about when we retire, early part of retirement, she would like to have an electric RV. And I told her, the problem with electric RVs is that there's not a lot of them, and you're not going to buy a used one because they devaluate so quickly. Yep. They're going to be super expensive. So I said, why don't we buy... And the problem with an RV, and she wants a motorhome specifically, because you know what happens with motorhomes, right? Every time you want to go somewhere, you either got to drag another car with you, or you got to unplug the damn thing if you want to go into town to get groceries. It's not practical. So I said, well, what about this? We can have an electric pickup truck that has the interior space of a Model X pretty darn close. That was very nice. She certainly appreciates that. And it can tow something, and we can buy a cheap camper. And she was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So she hasn't fought me on the issue ever since. So
that was actually my plan, Trev. I wanted to buy the truck so I could take it and camp. I mean, plug in an RV spot, charge it up. I mean, it's awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
Except,
and who knows? Go ahead.
Except
for the styling.
Yeah, and I've got to like my cars. If you're spending that kind of money,
I agree with you 100%. If the car was ugly, if I perceived it as ugly, I would not be interested. I don't see the Cybertruck as...
the car is ugly? The car is ugly.
No.
To you.
It is in the eye of the beholder. I don't find the Cybertruck to be ugly. I find it polarizing, and I'm with Marc. I'm not 100% on the back end. Everything else about the truck I'm okay with. The back of the truck, that lift gate, or the gate on the back, the fact that it's flat and it's angled back slightly throws it off. And I've come around to it, but I'm still not 100% in love with that function. So
let me put it to you this way. I find it attractive in the same way an M1 Abrams tank to me is attractive. I see that and I just think it's a amazingly cool vehicle. I see the Cybertruck. It has a more military appeal to me. It looks like a military vehicle, and it's cool.
Oh, that's deliberate.
Yeah, I just love looking at it for the same reason as I do any armored vehicle. But they're not beautiful in the conventional sense. No way, no how. It's a different kind of thing. It's a different kind of appeal. You could never call it beautiful.
I will say though that there is a huge difference, and we know this with every vehicle they've ever made. There's a difference between reservation holders and owners. And I think a lot of people like Marc may go, listen, $100 here, take the $100. But when it actually comes down to having to make the order, they're going to go, you know what? Let me get that $100 back from you. I'm going to actually say no. Because I think a lot of folks were like, okay, it sounds amazing. Let's just do it because it's Tesla. Oh my God, it's Tesla. And at some point, cooler heads will prevail. And people are going to have a chance to kind of really think about it. And again, the financial investment is big for some people. And I'm willing to put a wager on this. The unforeseen economic downturn that's occurring now because of the pandemic, for a lot of people will really change what their fiscal decisions are in the years to come. Because when you're seeing nearly 10% of the U.S. workforce right now being unemployed or furloughed, when you're seeing 22 million people who are filing for unemployment just in the last month, which has wiped out all of the gains since our last depression 8 years ago, that's for some people like, yeah, I got a $1,200 check from the IRS this week. Wonderful. That doesn't cover my mortgage. It's nice extra money. And then we see articles come out of like, hey, you know what you should do with that money? Buy an electric bike. No, that's not where we're at right now. Not naming names, I'm just saying, just throwing it out there. But yeah, it literally, I think a lot of folks are now, how much is this going to hamper the economy? And are they going to say, listen, I really would like to do that, but I can't afford now because I'm X behind on, months or
this situation's I think this situation's really it changes everything. The first thing that people stop doing is they stop buying expensive things. Like they don't buy homes and they don't buy cars.
Yeah.
And, when the economy tanks like this. As far as the Cybertruck is concerned, I think the latest number floating around is somewhere in the vicinity of 600,000 reservations at this thing. How many reservations do you think they would have had they actually asked people for $2,500?
Ooh.
Half.
Way down.
I think
I would say at least half.
$100 is like throwaway money. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? $1,000, even $1,000 would be like, they probably have very close to those numbers. I mean,
Model 3 had 150,000 reservations when they went live at the reveal on March 31st of 2016.
And they had 500,000 6 months later.
Right.
So.
I mean, and that's a very slow trending thing. I think a lot of people also were like, I'm going to hold off and wait till I see it, and then the numbers really spiked. But still have 150,000 reservations before the thing's even seen. Cybertruck was like, you can actually make a reservation right now. Okay, $100, here you go.
Yeah, but don't forget the Model Y. Like a year ago, before it went into production, they were not asking for $100 or $1,000. They wanted $2,500.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what we did. Laid down 20. Now they're doing 100. Yeah, but
exactly.
I'll tell you, I'm not the least bit worried about demand for one thing, and it's the elephant in the room that nobody seems to discuss with this, and it's the commercial operators. Commercial operators could give a damn what this thing looks like, and I don't think too many of them. I know there's a lot of companies, the smaller companies, put some reservations in, but I don't think we've seen anywhere near what the total demand for this thing is, because when you show a bean counter, here's what it costs to run your current fleet, here's what it costs to run the Cybertruck fleet, it's an open and shut case. They could care less what it looks like. Oh, no maintenance, like cut my energy costs in half, done. How many are we ordering? That's what it's going to be. I mean,
absolutely. Especially with the price of the Cybertruck, because when they rolled it out and they said 40,000 as a starting price, I'm like, we were all expecting. I mean, I always thought it would be a minimum of 60 going in. And then when Elon started talking, well, we'd like to get it around 50. And then he dropped a mic at 40. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, but how many Ford Rangers are on the road versus like a Ford 250? You know what I mean? Like people.
Well, talk to Marc. How much was your RAM?
It was 45. And it's pretty nice. I mean, it's really nice for.
What I think
what's the base price on one of those though?
I think it's 29. 30, somewhere around there.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
but I think for Cybertruck, most folks who, especially for in like the fleet we're talking about for some of the companies, you want to go on the higher end. You need a higher performing truck. So you are talking now $65,000, $70,000 in some cases after taxes, deliveries, and that sort of thing. Now, at some point, you have to figure out, even if you're looking at 40,000 on the low end, most people who are the average consumer might be fine with that. But for people who know trucks, who want performance, towing capacity, et cetera, range and everything else, we mention all the time, you want to get the bigger battery if you're going to do stuff with towing. So you're not. I'm telling you, you're not going to see $40,000 Cybertrucks on the road a lot. You're just not.
Well, not only. I think a fleet you will. I think with fleets you will see base models.
Because you'll see a lot of those.
In Central California, we have a lot of farmland farmers, and there's white F-150s everywhere. Everywhere, like that's what they drive. It's just white F-150s.
Yeah, same thing out here. Farm country is the same thing. F-150s everywhere.
So I think in that sense, there's going to be a lot of them sold. But I wonder what their production is going to. What are they looking at for production? You know, maybe they can only make 200,000 a year. Well, I mean, okay, that's good, and they'll sell every one they probably can make.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
But are they really making a dent into the whole pickup market? You know my argument again. If you see me on Twitter, I don't think it's going to make a huge dent.
I also don't see this being big globally. I see it being biggest here in North America, and the numbers outside North America, there'll be some, but it's going to pale in comparison. I think it's going to be a god awful seller overseas. God awful.
But there is no pickup market overseas.
Right.
But even then,
maybe
they do in Australia, but it's smaller pickups, not the big beasts that we're used to.
Part of it is because there's no real estate to park a vehicle of that size on the street somewhere.
Right.
Well, in Europe, maybe.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you guys. As a whole, with the Cybertruck, do you feel like it falls into Tesla's mission as a whole of changing people over from ICE cars and vehicles to EVs?
I do.
I don't.
I'm going to put a really definitive "we'll see." Because I know where you're going with that question, Mark, and it's a very valid one because we know what the sales figures are. Like F-150 sells around 800,000 units a year. If you combine, the Chevy and the GM pickup, it's around the same thing. Throw some Ram numbers on there. Just the big three, we're talking over 2 million pickups a year. And if we think the most they can sell out of these is 200 or 300,000, like, is that really doing the job of converting all those? So I'd say it all depends on the commercial operators. I think they're the big question mark right now. It could put a decent dent because I think commercial guys will go for it. But here's what it's doing. Is where I really think it supports the mission is it's forcing everybody else to accelerate their plans. This seems to be an underappreciated part of what Tesla does in every market segment. The three forced Mercedes, BMW, Audi, all to get in, to get more serious about electric vehicles. Same thing with Volkswagen, et cetera, et cetera. This is going to do the same thing. We saw immediately Ford accelerated their electric pickup plan. GM now is going full bore. They just
the Hummer coming out next month.
Exactly. And then you've got other startups who are in the water as well, like Rivian, and money's getting poured in there. So maybe you're right, Mark. Maybe it's not going to capture the amount of market it should have had it been a more conventional vehicle. I totally agree with you there. But I think the market forcing effect to get everybody else electrified at a more accelerated rate. In that sense, I think it fulfills the mission.
I would agree with you. If you were to talk to Elon, he could care less how many cars he sells. His mission is to get the rest of the industry to get off their duffs and do something. Yeah. So if it's a catalyst, that's what matters to him.
So I'm looking at, while you guys were chatting, I was looking up some stories here. It looks like in 2019, in the first quarter of 2019, pickup trucks held a 16.5% of new vehicle registration in the market, and they had a vehicles in operation rate at 20%, which is the highest of any vehicle.
It's a massive market.
It's massive.
It is a massive market.
And that's what I'm saying. I think in the U.S., you're going to see that market.
Well, I don't think that Tesla would want to leave money on the table in that market segment. I mean, if you were to look at a bunch of other market segments, I mean, if you really think about it, as far as the transportation sector is concerned from passenger vehicles, it's like the last thing that they could enter. I mean, yeah, you got vans and stuff, but I don't think the van market's really
the other thing, too, is that, Ford, Chevy, GMC, you've got Toyota is in the market. Honda's in the market, but really other than Toyota, Chevy, GMC, and Ford, the rest are trying to have decent numbers, but it's not like the Honda Ridgeline and some other pickup trucks are really doing all that well. I mean, they're selling a few units, but they're certainly not Ford, GMC, and Chevy in the market. So the numbers are there. So I mean, but is Tesla going to be more of that lower end, where they're getting a very small percentage of the overall market? Are they really going to hit their numbers between Ford, Chevy, and GMC? We'll have to wait and see. Ian's favorite thing. Well, we'll see. But I think that those three powerhouses in pickup trucks are going to really hold their numbers. I think it's the other ones that people might go, we'll see how.
I think those big three are thank God Tesla did not make a traditional truck, because Tesla would have ate their lunch.
Well, yes, I think Rivian's the one you got to watch out for. When Rivian finally gets their truck to market, and we saw some promo videos come out this week of camping scenarios and stuff. I think they're the ones that are really going to affect the numbers of those big three, more so because they have a traditional look of a truck.
Go ahead, Rafael. I have something else to say.
So what do you guys think about? Elon has said several times that if the Cybertruck doesn't sell well, that it's going to be easy for them to do a normal-looking, traditional-looking pickup truck. And I think their intent is, if this thing doesn't sell well, we may, step it up a notch and do something that is more appealing to the masses.
It's entirely possible, and I don't see them. I would say that if he deems that the Cybertruck, or they deem the Cybertruck, is a failure, whatever that constitutes, then yeah, I could see them absolutely doing that. But somehow I just don't think it's going to be a failure. I think people are just going to buy it because it's got the Tesla, it's going to have the DNA, it's going to have autopilot, it's all the, it's going to have everything that Tesla people expect. Plus, and this is the other part that I wanted to add in, we haven't seen the accessories for this thing yet. Apparently, they're working on a whole pile of really cool things for this thing. So I think that if Tesla puts as much effort in designing the car, in accessories for this thing as they do with the car, it could actually put them in a different market segment. You have to understand, I mean, in the pickup truck market in general, talking about the big three, accessories are all the rage. I mean, you can buy literally everything. Marc can probably attest to that. With Tesla being new on the market, it's just you know what I mean? So with Tesla being on the market, I'm sure that they would want to jumpstart the accessory market for their product. And what better way to do it than using their design acumen to actually come up with some very interesting things? I mean, we've already seen very quickly some pictures. Unfortunately, I've asked Elon, I tried to get his attention on Twitter, to try and get some higher resolution pictures of the sails, the two sails that open up, there's storage space in there. There's also pictures from the promotion on the website about this proposed camping attachment on the back and the kitchen and all the things that Rivian's toying with. I think would really set this apart, not only as a pickup but as a sport activity vehicle or a lifestyle type of thing. I mean, Tesla's very good at that type of thing. So I don't know.
I don't think they're ever going to make a normal truck. I don't think so. I think they're going to sell as many as they want, whether it's 200,000 or 300,000, and I think that. And
there's nothing wrong with those numbers as long as it's profitable. And Tesla, we know that they can be profitable when they want to be.
Right.
I think that's more than enough to recoup their costs.
I can only imagine that thing with the amount of torque that's going to have. Like, I mean, you can experience that even in your Model 3s, for example. Like, you if you have ramps and you try to put your car in ramps, on our cars, it's like, it's a zero effort thing, right? If you're going, camping for a week or something like that, you have to go through trails and whatnot. And especially now that they said that they're going to increase the height, the lift for the suspension travel. I mean, it's going to be a great vehicle to just isolate yourself. It's gonna have freaking solar panels to charge, very, very small amount, but it's gonna have it, right? I don't know. I think it's going to be a crazy truck. I can't wait.
I think for a market segment, it's going to fit a market segment. It's not going to be for everybody, but it's
exactly.
They need a halo car somewhere, and it's not just the Roadster. It's got to be something else as well, because every manufacturer has some kind of halo car, right? So the Roadster will be the halo car for the supercar thing. But I thought, as far as their other cars are concerned, I think this has real potential to be something truly different in a lot of ways. Anyways, I think we beat this thing to it. We beat this horse to death. All right, let's talk about something else. What do you guys want to talk about? Crickets. What have you been up to, anyways? Mark, what have you been up to in California, anyways?
Are you going to talk about the referral wheels?
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. One of our sorry about that. I know we're a little over the map right now because I said we literally have no agenda tonight. But I thought I would punch in here real quick. One of our Twitter followers and forum member, Poosh, POOSH3, posted some pictures on the forum, and I've pulled them down here. These are the referral wheels, folks. These are the ones for the Model 3. And they are literally the same ones that you can get for the performance package for the performance Model 3. These things look really sick. God, they look nice. I want a set so bad.
They look gray. I think they're the same gray that are on the performance Model 3s.
Yeah, it's like a space gray or something.
Yeah,
it's not black.
I would powder coat mine.
Oh man, they look really, really slick. So anyways, I'll put a link down in the video description if you guys want to check out some high-res pictures of these, but they look really good. So these are shod with, let me see here, 235/35 ZR20s, Michelin, I think they're Sport Pilot, or these were the Sport Cups?
I heard that it was going to be Pilot Sport 4S tire.
Yeah, the 4S.
I'm trying Pilot, it's Sport Pilots. Sport Pilots.
Yeah, the confusion is I think they're the standard performance size and tire. So it's the Pilot Sport 4S in 235/35/20 is when you get them in the referral package. However, if you get that wheel as part of the track upgrade, then you're getting the Sport Cup tires.
Sport Cups,
and those are 245s. They're wider.
Yeah, a little wider. Anyways, they look really, really sharp.
Yeah, they do.
Anybody in Canada have a set that want to sell them? Let me know. I would buy them out of the States, but shipping would kill me.
I'm gonna sell mine. That's for sure. So.
Yeah, shipping would kill me to get them out of the States, though.
I'll take them in my car when I go.
Somebody asked me, why would you sell your set? I said, if I wanted the performance car, I would have gotten a performance car. I don't want 20-inch wheels on my 18-inch car. So
well, yeah, efficiency is going to suck. But these look really light, so I'm hoping Ian and I will be very interested to see how much these things weigh.
Well, they are fully forged, so they shouldn't be too shabby.
Yeah. I think they look amazing.
I can't wait.
Has anybody? This is the first report of somebody actually getting a hold of them.
Yeah, when I saw it, I was like, "Whoa, wait, buddy! I think you're the first one to take a picture of these."
Yeah, these are the first pictures I've seen.
I'm still waiting to get my photograph sent into space.
I'm supposed to drive the Tesla Semi. I don't think those things are happening. FineLab has a line of protective coatings that were engineered to protect your Tesla's paint, leather, carpet, plastic, and wheels, effectively blocking all those UV rays and environmental factors before they ever get to ruin your brand new baby. FineLab offers a complete line of car care products and ceramic coatings for both the do-it-yourselfer and professional detailers. Did we mention we also have the world's first self-healing coating? Check us out at finelab.com, that's spelled F-E-Y-N-L-A-B, to see the science behind the self-healing. Check out our product catalog and click Contact Us for a free quote from a certified installer in your area. FineLab and Tesla. We were meant for each other. Actually, we should speak about the referral program because there's been a lot of changes lately. Of course, if you haven't looked at your app lately, go into your loot box, because if you have any referrals and you have referral miles, they're now listed in there. Not only the miles listed, but your expiry date now has finally kicked in. So there's been a lot of reports on the internet of people losing miles or not having them in there or expiring prematurely. It's been all over the map. If I remember correctly, just going back on the last referral program, each referral gave you 6 months of supercharging, 1,000 miles of free supercharging for 6 months. Any additional referrals would extend that for an additional 6 months to a maximum of 36, right? Yep. So some people are saying, well, I got 2 referrals and then they kicked out on me. Well, it's because you haven't used them. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Although I think a lot of people have been, for good reason, also reaching out and saying to me on Twitter, it's like, well, we're in lockdown, we can't drive around. Shouldn't it be extended another 6 months just as a grace period? And I think that's kind of fair, but
that would be a good move. I would really, really respect them for doing that. I think it'd be the right thing to do at this point.
Yeah.
I say no. I'm sorry, what? Here's the reason why I say no. Okay, and I applaud people who are asking that question. I'll give you 2 reasons why I think it's also kind of hogwash. Number one, you've already been given something for free that Tesla didn't have to give you in the first place, right? They're not entitled in any way, shape, or form. If you ended up, let's say they give you the extension, but you still didn't use all your miles, what happens? They get it back anyway. It doesn't cost them much of anything. And right now they're trying to be cost conservative in terms of their expenditures because, again, they're not selling cars much. But number 2 is it's ideally the benefactor, the greater benefactor, was the purchaser who used your code. They're the ones who at least initially are getting 1,000 supercharging miles with their vehicle. But there's also a person can buy a Model S now and they get free supercharging with their car. There's a whole different bunch of benefits. But I have 5,000 some odd whatever miles that I drive right now back and forth to work 1 day a week because of the coronavirus, and my round trip is under 70 miles. So until I can actually take a road trip, until things are normal, which we don't know when that is, that could literally be a year from now, right? Mm-hmm. Are they just going to add another extension and then another extension and then another extension when they have all these owners who have all this mileage, some people who have 6-figure numbers, by the way, for mileage credits, they can't extend that forever. So to me, if they say at some point, listen, like anything else, it's like coupons you get in the mail. If it has an expiration date, if you didn't use it by then, okay, your coupon expired. That's it. You can't like go to the coupon people and say, hey, listen, I didn't get a chance to go to the store because the stores are closed. Okay, well, the coupon's the coupon. That's just when it expires. I think the thing that I find very unnerving about the community as a whole is there's so many demands from Tesla. At some point, you look so unbearably selfish. It's not about you, it's about the mission. And the mission should be always the main focus about trying to electrify the world and get to a cleaner environment. Climate change is always the core background problem here. You saying, I want this and I want that, to me, get out of here. Like, it's not about you. Now, if there's a number of members of an owners club and the owners clubs come together and said, hey, we've identified it, we think this is going to be helpful for the community as a whole, it's going to help Tesla's mission, all for that. Share that feedback, let them know. But when someone's like, hey, Elon, I want this in my car, it's just annoying. It's so annoying. It's so selfish. It doesn't matter. Leave them alone. They got so many things going on. You saying, hey, in addition to YouTube, can I also get this? Can I get Quibi in my car now? I want to get Quibi videos.
No,
get the hell out of here.
I think you hit the nail on the head, though. I think, as you come together, when you see
point.
there's a large demand amongst the community for something that's useful and it's valid, I think we all agree on that, and it's the one guy who wants Quibi or whatever the hell you're talking about. That's in the annoying category. But I don't think this is an unreasonable ask because, first of all, it doesn't cost Tesla anything. Like, it costs them $0 to extend this because right now there's very few people that can use the amount of free supercharging that they've been given. So to just say, okay, whatever your end date is, we're going to tack on 6 months or a year. You can't prolong it forever. But if they were to just say, whatever it is, we're going to tack on an extra 12 months so that you can take advantage of this thing. It costs them $0. And it won't even cost them that much more because no one's really able to use it right now. So I don't see any downside to this particular one.
But I would never be able to use all the free supercharging miles.
That's what I'm saying. If you have all right, so let's say I have 5,300 miles, give or take. The only way to ever use that is if I'm doing what you guys did, like a long road trip where I'm driving 2,000-3,000 miles round trip or whatever it is, and I want to try to get from A to B. If I'm parking in a hotel, I'm not supercharging. If I'm staying at a friend's house, I'm not supercharging. Like the number of opportunities in which you use supercharging and the number of credits you need to get that is not that substantive that all of a sudden everyone's got to have all these credits extended. My credits expire in September of 2021. There's a good chance because I can charge at work, I can charge in your home. I'm likely, even if you were to extend it a year, I probably would not use all 5,000 supercharging credits that I have.
You're not everybody. There's a lot of people.
I understand, but in all fairness, Ian, most people I know, because of the way their work schedules are, they can't take road trips the way that you think they can. Like, it's one thing if I wanted to go to Washington D.C. for a road trip and go, let's just drive there. I got the car, I got the mileage, let's just go. And maybe what happens with this pandemic is that people change the way they travel, especially for businesses. Maybe they don't fly as much. Maybe there's more telecommuting. Maybe there is more digital interfacing like there is now with work from home. I'm telling you, this pandemic, by and large, is going to change the way we commute overall. It's going to change the way we travel a lot. But I also don't think most owners are like, I'm going to take a 5,000-mile road trip this year. Like, most people I know don't do that.
Rafael will use it.
I have 3 months with my car. It's at 7,500, and I haven't done a road trip. But the average driver in the U.S. drives between 12 and 14,000 miles.
That's it.
So, most people that I know charge at home. But I do know a lot of people that depend on, public charging or, charging on the road, even like they live in condos or whatnot. So they don't have a garage or they don't have access to it. And I still think that, the funny thing is that I agree with everything you just said, Eric, but at the same time, it's like half and half. I think that a lot of people will be able to use them with normal no road trip type of driving because, if you put 14,000 miles a year on your car, not doing road trips, you still have to charge it for those miles. Now, you charge at home, and it's basically, at least where I live, it's about half the price of what you would be paying if you go to superchargers. So if you have the means of charging at home, the impact is not that bad if you don't use the free miles. Like, I won't go, I have, a number of miles, but I won't go, I have my supercharger close to me, like 3 or 4 miles from here. I never go to it. Sometimes I do go, but I don't have the need for that. And I'd rather just charge here at home. Don't think about when I need to charge the car. The car's charged all the time because I plug it in at home. If I go to superchargers, at least I'm going to wait like half an hour or something, right? Because I would go when I really need to charge, right? If I'm really low and I'm going to let's charge this sucker quick and let's go, because I'm going to visit my parents or something like that. Mm-hmm. But if not, I'd rather not, I don't use the miles. It's so cheap to charge at home,
But I also think most people, if you're a Tesla owner and you're pretty knowledgeable about charging, you're not supposed to be supercharging as your primary source of charging. Mm-hmm. So even to that argument, let's say the average person is on the lower end at 12,000 miles a year, which we know some leases come in at 10, 12, or 15,000. So if you're in the mid-range there around 12,000, I doubt you're supercharging half the time. You're not charging 6,000 miles on supercharging in a year. I don't think the average Tesla owner does. So if you're doing a lot of local commutes, which most people drive under 40 miles round trip every day to and from work and everything like that. Over the course of the year, you're averaging between 10 and 15,000 miles a year. If you're supercharging, say even for a third of that, and that's even being generous, I would think, that's still 5,000 miles on the high end. And I think most people, like you said, they're either charging in public locations or they're charging at home. And supercharging is like you do it for, like, and I do it, which is in a pinch. I'm really low. I want to get to X location, or last minute, I'm just going to go on this sudden trip down to the Everglades or whatever. I need to get some charge. I'll stop by a supercharger and charge for 20 minutes and then I'm done. But even then, if you're charging for 20 minutes, you're getting what? Maybe 100 miles? 150 miles? Like you're not getting, all 300 miles in one charge. So to me, look, Ian's got merits to his argument. So I will agree with Ian. There's no fault if they just extend it. I'm saying, by and large, there's no grand benefit because most people will see their numbers expire, even if it's 6 months later, having never used the numbers at all. I don't think there's going to be a major shift when right now we're still not. Again, if let's say a year from now, we're finally back to what we consider relatively normal travel habits, it still might be that most people go, I got to work. I'm not taking a 6,000 mile road trip this year. And I have just
Eric,
5,000.
There's the problem with this. You're assuming there's a lot of people out there who got like 4, 5, 6 referrals and have 6,000 miles. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the average Joe who's got 1,500, maybe 3,000. That's
not even any referrals.
And I'm saying that there's value whether you have 200 miles or 20,000 miles. I'm not saying there's no value in it to the person who has the figures. If you worked hard to get the referrals, you worked hard to get the referrals. What I'm saying is there were even times where there was double the mileage, right? There was a time they were giving away 2,000 miles before the program basically cut those numbers back. I would still argue that while you say it's not going to hurt Tesla, I'm saying it does because, and here's why. There's a reason why Tesla at some point ceased the free supercharging unlimited for all of their vehicles. And the reason why they stopped doing that is because they realized at some point it's not a fiscally viable decision. They cannot continue just giving away money. They just can't. So if you extend the program 6 months, that's Tesla agreeing to themselves, we're willing to not get that revenue 6 months from now, whenever that starts again. And what I'm speculating here is that while both sides of this conversation are in the right, there are merits to why they should extend it, and I'm saying reasons why they shouldn't. To me, it's more about, I think most owners wouldn't see a difference. I am with you on the ones who have very, very low numbers. Listen, like if they extend it, like, hey, you're helping me save some money. That's fantastic. But right now, you're also not using those miles at all to do anything. And so if even if they extend it, I'm saying most people probably still would have mileage on their accounts when they finally do expire, whenever that is. I mean, you got some people who have mileage until 2023.
Yeah,
why extend it until 2025?
Yeah, Eric, we're not talking about those people. You could define it in such a way that only people who are going to expire at the end of this.
Tesla's not going to select who gets it and who doesn't. If they're going to extend it, they're going to extend it.
It would be a good PR move. I mean, it would be from PR standpoint.
Exactly.
It would look really good. And if to your point, Eric, if nobody's really going to use them anyways, it still looks good PR wise that, hey, we're going to give you guys another 6 months.
And I understand. And again,
there's a lot of goodwill
I'm understanding that. I just think that right now there isn't much they could do that's a problem. And I think the absence of them doing, again, to me, this is owners demanding, you need to give us more time. We're not using them. And I'm saying, what's the likelihood of any of you using the majority of not all of your miles, even in the next year and a half? Like, what's the chance of it?
Yeah, but look at the reality of it. The reality is there's very few people that could go on an extended trip right now. Very few. So
I'm even arguing before that. This is the thing I want to make very clear.
I'm calling bullshit on this, okay? That's ridiculous. Somebody wanted to go on a road trip 6 months ago. They could go on a road trip.
Most people I know can't do that. This is what I'm trying to make very clear to you.
Most people.
Economically, most people I know are middle class or low income Americans. They can't just take time off to go on a vacation.
You're telling me the average Tesla owner can't afford a vacation? That's ridiculous.
Listen, I own a Tesla. I don't go on vacations.
That's you, dude. You're talking about you. I'm talking about the average Tesla owner.
But hold on, then. The average Tesla owner is not exactly the kind of. Listen, there are a lot of people we know make the Tesla stretch. Is that not a true statement? We know people do that. Those people may not be able to afford to take a freaking vacation.
I don't think that's most Tesla owners. Just anecdotally, I have no science to prove this. I'm sorry. I'm just talking about the 100 people I know.
All right.
A little bit. You know.
Okay, guys. All right. We could talk about this all night. I think it's time we move on to something else here.
I'm waving a white flag.
We have listeners and viewers that we have to cater to a little bit, and I don't think they want to hear any more arguments about this. We all have valid points.
Okay.
All right. Listen, Marc, you're on the show. You own a Model Y. Tell us what your experience has been with the car so far.
I like it. I mean, it is going to sell like hotcakes. It's the perfect car, really. I mean, I love the Model 3, as you guys know. I've had 3 of them.
For those of you who don't know, Marc Benton had VIN 89.
Yes.
So he's a very early Model 3 owner.
Oh, man.
He's owned that car. He sold it. He bought a Performance Model 3. He sold that, and he bought an SR Plus. He sold that. Then he bought a Ram. Now he owns a Model Y.
Yeah,
you still have the Model X, right?
Well, the X is going to go back. It's a lease.
In June, right? Because that's a lease.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, okay. So our Model Y is our family car. It's my wife's car, but she's letting me kind of mod it a little bit, do some stuff to it. And because she's like all my other cars too. But it's, I had a few fitment issues, nothing major, but things that I had to, like on the interior that I had to kind of bang into place. Panels that weren't quite pushed in, and the funny thing is it reminded me a little bit of VIN 89. It wasn't
early days.
It was an early VIN. Yeah, that's what it reminds me of. But it wasn't. But it
they'll
was
get
better.
the QC sorted out. Yeah.
But it was better than VIN 89.
Okay.
It was better. But it's a great car. I mean, the space is outstanding. To me, the utility of it is going to be really good. If people want a sedan, they're going to stay with a Model 3. I mean, the Model 3 to me is a prettier car because it's a sedan.
It's hard to make an SUV look good.
Right. But as far as like a mom mobile or, kid mobile, it's going to be fantastic. Yeah.
I think that's a sentiment going around that the Model Y, I mean, we've talked about this before, that every vehicle that Tesla brings out, the latest model is always better than the one they did before. It's just because they just innovate, and whatever's current, that's what they put the innovations in. I mean, Model Y is no different. They've got that new casting in the back. They've got the heat pump. There's a bunch of stuff that's different on it.
So there's one interesting thing that I found out as I'm modding the car right now. It's actually not in my driveway right now because it's getting something done to it. When you take off the emblems on the front and the rear, there's holes.
Locating holes.
And a lot of people don't know that, so it's something that the people that are Model Ys, they need to know that. Yeah,
exactly. And that's sad for me to see, for the people who want to do wraps and they want to do emblem deletes and all the other stuff, that now you gotta concern yourself with that now, because it's not just a blank slate anymore. So you gotta figure that out.
Well,
I was disappointed to see that personally.
Do you know why they did that?
Alignment.
Yeah.
To make sure that the emblems are straight.
I'm gonna wrap my Model Y when I get it. I'm gonna wrap it the same color as my purple Model 3, and it's gonna have the emblems. I'm gonna push through the wrap to put the emblems back on. I think it looks beautiful with them. I know a lot of people like the Roadster Tesla.
Oh yeah, absolutely, guaranteed. Yeah, Marc.
Yeah. I know.
I'm the same way.
I love those. Stay tuned this weekend. I've got a surprise this weekend.
I want to see how you do that.
Yeah, I personally like the T, the Tesla logo on its own better than the name. But that's why we have choices, right? Like everybody does whatever they like the best.
Well, I've always told people, listen, when you only have 2 interior colors, 5 colors, and 2 wheel styles, personalization is kind of a given.
But the odd thing is, and I mentioned this before on Twitter, is that for being someone who's done 0 mods for his car, mine's the unicorn.
That's true,
right? Like not changing
Eric's car is like
leaving it alone. Like I know when you guys are on your road trip, like to see the EV1s on your cars up in Canada, to see the Fast EV decals on your Challenge, and those are little things that help to at least make the car distinguishable from others. But the weird thing is, like, I do nothing, and people are like, Eric, what are you gonna do to your car? Nothing.
Eric hasn't even tinted his windows.
You and Ryan McCaffrey. Because his is stock too.
I still have not tinted my windows. I've done no PPF, no ceramic. I've done.
You've done nothing.
That's not true.
You should totally take it to Cars and Coffee. And like, look, a completely original Model 3. They'll be freaking out. You're right.
Actually, Ryan had his.
It's -6.
Ryan had full PPF on his car and ceramic.
He did do that.
But that's about the extent of his.
Nice with the clear PPF on it. He was my ride when I did. I think it was for the Model Y. I think it was. Yeah. for the Model Y. He was my ride to the hotel, and his car is beautiful. Now, Mark, I heard. We saw that if you've seen Sandy Munro when he did the teardown, and you saw the heat pump episode that he did. Does your Model Y do like a lot of noise? Because
it is noisy.
Because they're gonna put. Apparently, Elon agreed that they're gonna build a housing just like on the Model 3, where
they're gonna make a sound deadening jacket for it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want to, I didn't notice anything. I honestly, I haven't.
It's probably because you haven't heated it yet. But if you look at our friend Eric there on Tesla Inventory's channel, he did a comparison because they just had a big snowfall again in Colorado because that's where he lives, up in the mountains, and he had his Model S and his Model Y side by side with like 6 inches of snow in the car, and he did the preheat thing, and the Model Y is pretty noisy.
Yeah, it was, and we live in a climate that's like, well, it's like Eric. I mean, it's been the low is 55. You know, so
I wish. Oh my God! You had a heat index of 106 yesterday.
Well, it was 85 today. Like
we had snow flurries today.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
106.
But doesn't the heat pump also work on the Model Y when the car's cooling as well? Doesn't it turn on as well? I think it's part of the both.
It's part of the whole cooling heating circuit.
So if it's gonna make noise,
I haven't noticed anything out of the ordinary. And like I said, I've had 3 Model 3s, and I haven't noticed. To me, the car seems quieter. Now, maybe on the outside, maybe it's louder, you know. And I don't have the pedestrian speaker either. The wiring's there, but there's no speaker.
Right.
Just weird. Like Eric. Yeah. But then I saw on Twitter somebody posted. Yeah, Zach. It's like Ben 100 and something. He has the speaker. It doesn't make much sense. I don't know what they're doing.
I think that's because the legislation officially has to be in place by September of next year, but by law, I think they have that at least 50% of their cars with it on there. So
no, I think it's this year.
Is this year?
Oh, yeah, sorry, yes, I meant this year. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, I meant this year.
Okay.
But why would a VIN 100 have it, but mine is VIN 809, and it doesn't have it?
Probably in the production line. They probably missed it or whatever.
Who knows?
It's
Guaranteed you have the wiring harness. You just need the speaker.
Yeah, I saw the wiring harness, and I noticed Brian from I1 Tesla, his is like a VIN 400 and something. His doesn't have it. Eric's doesn't have it from Tesla Inventory. I don't know exactly what his VIN is, but I think his is in the thousands. But yeah, it's unusual that they...
It's funny that they're kind of missing it. And, you know, you got a lot of people... I remember when they were first talking about the pedestrian warning system, because my car came with it because mine was an early 2019 build. So that's when they started officially putting them in. And a lot of people are like, oh, I hate that thing. I'm going to unplug it. Okay, fine. I'll show you how to unplug it, whatever. But I guarantee you, the moment Tesla comes out with that software update where you can do the custom sounds, there's going to be a raft of people all over it. Can I buy a retrofit? I want that.
Those are the same people that probably got a Cybertruck.
Yeah, guaranteed.
Oh, man.
Because people are going to want the goat sounds and the Monty Python sounds. I guarantee you.
I would love a Super Mario Brothers sound on that thing.
That'd be good too, actually.
Absolutely.
Boing, boing.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, I will say, having seen the Model Y, I hadn't had a chance to see one in person until on Monday of this week. And, I never was inclined to get it. Well, yes. Yeah. And I wasn't inclined to get one. I'm like, I'm content with my sedan. I like being lower to the ground. And I saw it in person. I'm like, it's kind of nice.
It is nice, isn't it?
It really is nice.
It kind of grows on you.
But that being said, I will say that the extra cargo volume is also advantageous. Like I know that it's almost double or more, a little more than double.
66 cubic feet.
Yeah, so it's pretty substantial compared to the Model 3, which is 15 cubic total. 15. So it's, look, the Model 3 is a wonderful car, and we're seeing Marc say the same thing. Like with every iteration, when you see from car to car, you might notice minute differences from one to the next. But I think with Model Y, like they nailed it, and with the CUV market, that's the perfect car for them. So if you are
the Tesla to get right now.
So yeah, if I did have the resources and I wanted to change, hell, if I had kids, my cats don't count, but if I had kids, I would consider certainly trading in for the Model Y. It honestly is a beautiful, beautiful ride.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm not in a position to change. I love my Model 3. It was time for me to go back to a sedan. But if I was to, if I needed a SUV, I wouldn't blink twice. I would order one. Yeah, it's a beautiful car.
Now the Cybertruck can go to hell. but that I'll get.
Did you guys see the blue lower to the ground with airbags?
It's Mojo's cars. Looks really really sharp. He did a good job on that. I'm not into the whole bagged look, but I like the
you
wrap.
can adjust that, right? That's the beauty of Air.
That was just the parked setting that they put on. When it moves, it goes up like by 3 inches or something like that.
Yeah. No, you did a good job.
Trev, I'm really interested to see what you think about it. Being a Model X owner, and as you know, we had a Model X. I'm interested to see what you think about it compared to when you get to see a Y, and you're used to the X, to see what you think about it. Because to me, it's not very much different.
No, I know. In my recollection from it, because I was at the event, my recollection of it is like, okay, yeah, it's almost the same size as an X. So, yeah, no, I wouldn't have any qualms about getting one. I mean, I ended up with the 6-seat variant, but, at the end of the day, even I had 5 seats, I'd probably just order the 5-seat and call it a day. Yeah, I don't see a need for any more than 5
I think
seats.
for people who, to me, the major difference between them is more about when someone thinks about that second row seating. If you need someone who it's easier to get into the vehicle, especially for someone who's older, maybe has some physical limitation, the Model X is so advantageous for getting kids out of car seats, for getting elderly in, for getting cargo in. It's a lot easier with those large Falcon Wing doors. If you're looking for a traditional car with just normal doors, then the Model Y is for you. I mean, to me, I think that's the selling point for those two is just, what do you think of the second row? Because the rest is not that much
The problem,
different.
though, is the value proposition. Is the Model X worth $30,000 more?
Well, that and for people who want a traditional dashboard, if you want something that has, instruments in front of you and then also screen off to your right, but if you're not a fan of the minimalistic design, the Model Y is probably not going to be the car you want to get anyway.
People will get over that real quick. My wife's already over it.
I'm with you, but there are some people who are like, you know what, that's worth $20,000 more for me.
My wife was the same way when we sold the Model X and she went to the Model 3. She says, I don't like the dash on the Model 3, but now she doesn't complain about it anymore.
Yeah.
She says, well, I miss the ride quality of the Model X. I get that.
Right.
But other than that, she has
Air
no real
suspension.
complaints. Right?
Or if you need 6 seats, like you had, Trev. I mean, if somebody needs a 6-seater, then you got to go Model X. I mean, I don't think the 7-seat Model Y is going to be small.
I mean, that's for kids in the back, yeah.
It's really tiny back there.
I mean, even as an adult, the 7-seater and the even the 6 and 7-seater for the X is still pretty tight. But you can deal with going out to dinner or something.
I wouldn't want to do a long road trip in the back seat of that car.
No.
I can't even imagine what the Model Y is going to be like. It's so tiny. Rafael, what'd you order? 5-seat?
So far, 5-seat, black outside, white interior.
Yeah, you gotta have the white.
Rear-wheel drive. Hopefully they make it. That's what I want.
Wait, so are you wrapping your Model Y?
Yes.
Yeah.
But you paid for the premium paint.
So yes, but the reason why is because I saw a
purple on white doesn't look good.
I saw a white vehicle wrap with a dark color, and it just doesn't look good. Like when you open the doors, like it just looks horrible.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because
you open the doors and you see the white, because they very rarely that costs a lot of money to wrap the interior. All that's because of compound curves and stuff.
So like right
they only
now,
do quarter inch.
It's gonna be a twin to my Model 3. My Model 3 is black, white interior. The Model Y is gonna be the same thing.
Same wrap?
Yeah, that's the plan so far.
His wrap is amazing. It looks really good. It's like that plum crazy purple Dodge Dart 68 plum.
Yeah, the car looks like it's painted.
Wow.
The amazing thing about the story you just mentioned, Rafael, about why you chose black versus white, it goes to show how finicky we Tesla owners can be sometimes. Which is, for the fraction of a second that the doors open, you know it's white. You can't see it while you're driving. You can't see it when the doors close, but you just know for that second when the door is open, you're like, oh, it's white. It looks terrible. Like, that's enough to be like, you know what? Here's $1,000 from, or was it $1,500 for the black paint?
No, it was $875.
Okay.
And the main reason is because my previous car, I never thought I was going to wrap a car in my life, right? I bought the Midnight Silver Metallic Model 3, the rear-wheel drive, the original one, and then I decided to do the crazy, dip that I did on it. And it blended really, really well because the door seams were like dark. And the black, I thought it was going to be a much better idea. Now, the car that I have right now, I didn't order it. I didn't hunt down that specific car. That was the second to last car available in the United States before they ran out and started shipping cars to Europe. So I just searched, and there was one in Coral Gables, which is just like 30 minutes away from home. And I immediately put the $100 down. I wasn't even really sure that I was going to buy a car. And then I was like, the Model Y is going to come out soon, but it's supposed to be the end of the year, so I'm going to buy it. And then it comes sooner, but that's another thing. I'm really happy with the car. It gives me what I was missing. That's what I was craving from the beginning. And I just took it back because, that was the only thing available. And when I decided to wrap it, I saw how good it looks. Remember, I go to a lot of auto shows. I do the club meetups, and I get a lot of people interested in the car. The car calls attention, but not in in an exuberant way. It's more like, what is that?
It's a conversation starter.
Exactly. So my plan for the Y is pretty much because of that. I'm going to wrap it. So now we're going to have the two cars kind of looking the same. One's going to be a little bit bigger, and people are going to be, asking questions, showing off, the capabilities of the car so people can join the mission, right? That's the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys find, and this is a question for all of you guys, whether you wrap or whether you don't wrap, and we're white, so go figure. But if you, nice job, Marc. If you wrap a car knowing that the vinyl only has a limited lifespan, I mean, I think what the most you're going to get is maybe 5 to 7 years out of it. And it's several $1,000s to wrap a car based on, obviously the vinyl quality and the size of the car, et cetera. So let's just say it's $5,000 to wrap your car. To me, that's just throwing money away. If at some point, if you get in an accident, something scrapes it, like something damages, like there's obviously a lot of things that can affect the look of the vehicle. Isn't that a lot of money to invest in just trying to change the look of your car when you could just have it painted or something else that makes it more permanent?
For me personally, it's not primarily about that. I was going to immediately do protection film on the car.
Right.
And I was going to do it with the same way that I did the other car. But the material that I wanted to use was not available. It was something that was coming up later. So I decided to say, if I'm going to put PPF on it, I might as well just do the wrap. It was actually cheaper to do the full car wrap than if I did protection only film, right? So in that sense, I'm doing two things at the same time. My car's paint is immaculate. If the day that I decide to sell the car, if I sell it, I have a feeling that this car is going to probably be gutted eventually and hit the track a lot. So the paint may not matter, but if I do decide to sell it, the paint is going to be good, so it's going to be better for the resale value of the car. And personally, like when I jump all in on something, a hobby, for example, that's where my money's going. When I'm, if I'm not spending the money on food or family and, outings and vacations, it's on my hobby. And this, right now my life is, spreading the word and enjoying having fun with Tesla. So for me, it's not throwaway money because it protects the paint of the car and also gives me, several other goals that I can meet because of it. And it makes it unique at the same time. So I kind of like doing several things at the same time. If you don't do it for those reasons, it may be a tough sell for somebody. I understand because it's not cheap. But yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, I feel like you, Eric. Like I'm the same way, Eric. I've gotten. I literally, everybody asks me about my cars. What did you do for PPF or protection? I literally have not done anything. I did ceramic coat on my black Model 3. And that was just because I wanted to make it, because it's black. It's so hard to keep clean.
Makes it easier to clean.
Makes it easier to clean. That's the only reason I did it. To me, I don't want to spend the money in that. I would rather put that money into, lowering my car or powder coating the wheels to make them look different, or, that's just me personally.
Right.
So I haven't wrapped or anything, any of my cars, or even paint protection film.
Yeah, because I've often wondered, like, I know when I've seen really specced out cars that have had probably easily $10,000, $12,000 worth of mods to them, I always think if you're in one accident, your insurance doesn't pay for any of that, right? Like any of that.
That's true.
And I know
they do.
Well, it depends on the insurance company.
Right, it depends on the insurance company, and it depends obviously what your premium covers and everything else. But by and large, like Florida is not great at insurance coverage. So I know, I value enthusiasts like Rafael because he's someone who finds the intrinsic value beyond the fiscal value of doing something like that. And like I said, I was teasing before, like my car is a unicorn because I've done nothing to it. To me, I think we're at a point now with Tesla's popularity. I think the conversations are still happening because there are some people who just don't on a day-to-day basis are getting exposure to the cars. So seeing any of them anywhere, I know our friend Michael's got that t-shirt asking about my Tesla. Like there are people who do not know really much about these cars. They're either afraid to ask, and so they basically now are given an outlet just on the coolness factor. We know our friend Nate in Orlando. He's doing some cool things with his purple Model 3.
I get it all the time when I go get coffee. The guy at the window is like, "Is that a Tesla?"
Yeah.
How is it? How do you like it?
So those conversations always happen. I just think that I'm of the opinion that if you have that income and you can use it that way, that's fine. I've always been mystified at the logic of doing that when there's so many. To me, there's better things that your money can go other than just let me cover the thing I paid money to have painted with something else that looks like a different thing. You know what I mean? That's like other mods. Like you want to do caliper covers, you want to do spoiler, you want to do a cool dash vinyl. Like those things, I understand. Because I know Trevor hates the piano gloss center console.
Terrible.
So does Marc.
Right. I know that's a thing with some people, the point of contention. But I think like the one I've always wondered is the car wraps. It's always been a thing. I'm like, why would you wrap your car? I just never understood it. And
you know what? I understand where you're coming from because I'm not a believer in wraps. I do believe in paint protection film, and I spent a lot of money on mine. Mainly because I've had experiences with rock chips, and I like to keep my cars in pristine condition at all times, even if it's 5 or 6 years old. I just like it to look new all the time. And for me, okay, yeah, it was a lot of money, but I don't mind spending the money because I know at the end of the day it's doing its job, and I already have little spots where rocks have hit it, and it hasn't touched the paint, but the paint protection film has done its job. I understand your concern. Yeah, if I get in an accident, I'm not getting that money back. But
yeah,
to me, it doesn't really bother me. And I like the look. I mean, I went for a stealth wrap, and if you've seen a stealth wrap on the right kind of car, it looks really, really good.
Oh, your car is beautiful. Your car is beautiful.
Well, for a white car.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Right.
It looks beautiful.
And Marc's looked really good because he had a lot of mods in his Performance 3. I mean, he had he had the Alcantara done on the interior, the black Alcantara. Yeah. That looked amazing.
That looks incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm still considering that too if I can just muster up the money somehow.
Yeah, you have to
still think about that.
Make a statement here. If you have white interior, change your headliner to a black Alcantara. It changes the look of the car.
If I find myself in California for about a week and I can twist Ben's arm over there at Performance Unplugged there, I might be able to swing it somehow. But I can't see it right now. The shipping's going to be so expensive to bring it across the border. But actually, which brings me to one other thing, because Marc, I wanted to mention this too, because you did this. I mean, you're like me. You hate the black center console with the gloss thing. You did the same covers that I did in white on mine. You did yours in black, right?
I did.
Isn't that a wonderful product?
Oh, it was so easy. And the dash was well, you don't have the dash because you have the white dash.
No.
But
yeah.
I covered the wood grain. I call it the old man wood grain.
Yeah.
I had to cover, even though I am an old man, I had to cover that up because and now it matches the center console. It's like a satin black. They call it matte black, but to me it's more like a satin black.
Satin black. Yeah. It looks really sharp.
Beautiful.
Yeah. The one I bought was white, but it was gloss. It was painted the same color as the car, but it was gloss. So I had some PPF scraps left over, and I covered mine, and then I put it in the car. And man, because I went through about 3 different vinyl wraps on the interior. It would never stick properly. It would always lift, and it was just driving me crazy. And I thought I'd try take a chance on that product, and man, I don't regret it. I highly recommend that. No, unfortunately, they don't offer enough colors, but I think the matte black that you have is probably good enough for most people that want the look of the black but don't want the gloss anymore and the fingerprint magnet. So
right.
Cool. All right. Well, we've talked enough about this stuff. Let's do some book or some podcast or show recommendations or whatever products or whatever the heck you guys want to recommend. Marc, since you're the newest guest here, I'll let you go first.
Well, I know we were talking about mods. Well, it's funny you were just talking about it. To me, that's
I was going to say it's probably the one, right?
The other thing is Rafael's favorite thing is the TESLA or the TESLA on the rear.
I'm in that camp too.
Yeah, stay tuned this weekend. I will be posting some pictures on Twitter of what I'm doing on the back of the Y, and it involves those letters, obviously. But those, I think it changes the rear end look of the car. I love it. I've done it on every car I've had, so I love that.
Hopefully, in that order. You're not going to put slate on the back of your car or tails or something.
Somebody will,
right?
It's like one of those tramp stamps that get, in the Chinese letters, and it spells something else completely different.
It's like the commercial. There's the commercial for an insurance company here in the U.S., which I'm not sure if you guys have in Canada, but the guy's getting like a tattoo and he sneezes, and he goes like, "Oh my God, can you fix that?" And it's like, "It's a tattoo."
Can't say I don't know that one. Any book or audiobook recommendations, Mark? Or?
Most people have probably read it. I'm in the middle of it. The How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think it was Peter McKinnon that I saw recommended it one time, a long time ago. It's a really good book. It just talks about how to treat people, which I still need to learn that on Twitter. But so I'm growing, but it's a really good book. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
How about you, Rafael? What can you recommend us for books, podcasts, and whatever kind of mods or accessories you like in your car?
I like a lot the modification that I did to both my Model 3s, the previous one and the current one. If you don't use the 12-volt adapter that's in the middle of the two front seats, it's a good mod to run a wire to the front where the charger goes. So you free up the USB ports that are on the console on the bottom. And if you happen to have a phone that can take advantage of fast charging, if you're using a wireless charger, that also gives you the capabilities of charging fast on your phone. I have the Jada, both the wireless charger and the USB hub. So I'm powering the wireless hub through the 12-volt adapter, and it's a really easy run. Then you drill a hole on a little part inside that you cannot see. It's not very difficult. It probably could take you like 15 minutes to do the whole thing. If you have the cables, I bought mine on Amazon, and it's a really good mod. I like it. For books, I'm not gonna go all fancy on very deep books with ideologies and whatnot. My thing is performance, and I love performance, and I encourage anyone that's thinking about driving their car, learning how to do high performance driving, to get this book that I have. It's a really good book. It's called Bob Bondurant on high performance driving. For those that are watching it on the video podcast on YouTube, this is the book. It's by Bob Bondurant, and it's a really good beginners and experts book. If you don't know how to do high performance driving, it's going to show you all the basics on the physics of it, how to apply how to take advantage of the most grip on your tires while you're on the track. And if you think that that's not helpful, learn it, and you will apply it on your day-to-day driving. There's a lot of people doing weird things on the road, and when emergency hits, if you know what you need to do, this is a great book to help you with that.
Is there a TikTok version?
TLDR, man.
What about Tesla para todos?
Tesla para todos. What about it?
Well, wait, what is that? What is that? Back up. Translation.
Tesla para todos is it's my friend Lars.
Okay.
Our friend Lars in Spain. He has a podcast that's all about news in Spanish for that. So yeah, it's a great podcast for those that speak Spanish.
Cool. And you have a podcast that you do in Spanish too.
Yeah, we have a weekly podcast. It's called Es Tesla, which in English translated is It's Tesla. So ES Tesla, those are the letters. And it's also a Spanish podcast. It's very similar in format to what you guys are doing here. We cover, except that we don't cover news, right? It's similar in the sense that it's three of us chatting. It's Ignacio, which is from Tesla. And
we're going to have him on the show as soon as possible.
Yeah, and Lars from Tesla para Todos. And what we do is that we just talk about our experiences with Teslas, both cars, and sometimes we have guests that have the solar panels and the batteries. We talk about the whole thing, experience owning anything Tesla. We also answer questions from our listeners. It's doing pretty good, so I'm happy with that one. So that's another one. If you want to, learn some Spanish, if you don't know it, then try to keep up with us.
Good. All right, Ian's your turn. What do you recommend for accessories or products or podcasts? What are you reading these days?
I dragged out one I read last year just because I enjoyed it so much, and it's an author that doesn't get a lot of recognition. She has a really cool YouTube channel called Vintage Space. You might know her, Amy Shira Teitel. And
Yes.
She's written 2 books now. This is her first one, Breaking the Chains of Gravity, and it's the history of spaceflight before NASA. In other words, what were the original pioneers who got us to the stage where NASA was able to come through with a comprehensive and successful flight program, the Soviets as well, obviously, at the same time. But she goes back to the early 1900s and builds the story up. And it was a fascinating book. And I mean, as you can see behind me, I have a crap load of books on space. I learned so much in this book that I'd never seen before. And she's a really entertaining writer. I mean, even if you're not a huge space geek, her style is such that she really engages you. And I'm really looking forward to her next one, which is just released now, called Fighting for Space. And it's the story of a couple of female test pilots who were fighting strongly to see women included in the 60s spaceflight program, which almost happened, but didn't. But yeah, Amy Shira Teitel, look her up. Her YouTube channel, Vintage Space, is great. And the books, both her books, I think are fantastic. From what
Excellent.
I can tell.
And where can people find you on the internet if they want to have a chat with you?
Me?
Yes, you.
Oh, well, right. Well, we're moving into the closing phase of the show, so you can find
we might
me
as
on
well kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Sure. So yes, on Twitter, at Ian Pavelko is my handle there, and you can also find me on the Tesla Owners Online forum under the handle Mad Hungarian. And of course, if you're looking for Tesla wear, you can go to Teespring, teespring.com, and look at, there we go. We have the Mad Hungarian Evolve wear available from that spot. I'm going to do one final little shout out to my friends down in Tampa, Florida, Fasco USA, who now have a retail division called Aftermarket EV. So all of you people who have been asking and waiting patiently all these years to be able to buy fast wheels in the USA, we now officially have a US distributor. So aftermarketev.com will ship anywhere in the lower 48 to your door, all included in the price of their wheels. Go check them out. They'd love to hear from you. And hopefully we'll see a little more action from our friends south of the border.
Yes, I know a lot of people have been asking about the EV1s, so now they're finally available if you want
in
them.
stock, ready to go. They have EV1s, FTO4s, all your faves, the
Great
replicas,
news.
all of it. Mm-hmm.
Awesome, great.
If Tesla doesn't give me the first wheels, I'm buying those.
There you go.
They are very nice. Well, you've seen them in person.
Yeah.
Very good. How about you, Eric? What do you recommend these days in terms of products or books or whatever you're reading these days?
So, my vehicle, as we've discovered in this lengthy podcast, is not a very mod spec'd out car. It is long range, which by and large is a unicorn already. If there's a product I can recommend, it's from our show sponsor, Evanex. It is the cup holder insert.
Let me tell you
about the cup holder insert. So this product is, you don't think you need it, but let me tell you something. Once you have it, you're going to wish why you didn't get it sooner. So a couple of things. One, it is a great way, if you're someone who's prone to spillage or a snack explosion where things just kind of fly everywhere. It's great because you can easily just take out the silicone mold and you just clean it and put it right back, and your cup holder is nice and clean. It also has these awesome tabs in there. So if you have like a 16-point blank ounce bottle of water, a lot of times in your cup holder it just kind of shifts around and might topple over. This holds it right in space. Now, there are some people who say, what if I have a large thermos or something? Odds are likely you can always just take out the silicone mold, put in your thermos, and you're going to be okay. But even then, if you got a thermos that's like a gallon size, sippy cup, you got bigger problems than a cup holder. But it's a great product. It's been very helpful. And there are times where I don't need to charge my phone. I just put my phone right there. It's not slipping and sliding around in the cup holder. So it's really, really awesome. You can get that at evernex.com, search for cup holder insert, or just go to the Model 3 pages for interior accessories. You'll see it there. If you use the discount code HIGH5, HIGH5 at checkout for orders over $50, you save $5. Throwing it out there. My book recommendation. So this week, we would have celebrated the anniversary of Apollo 13 and their return to Earth on Monday. Yeah, on Monday
right.
was the day they had their accident back in the early 1970s. So I'm a space geek the way Ian is. I don't have a massive shelf of books behind me. If you're listening to this podcast, I have a blank gray wall. Which is really, I have a Florida State thing on the floor, which is really, you can see how much work I've done on my house during the pandemic. But with that in mind, one of the most interesting books I've read, more about corporate culture, but specifically focusing on NASA culture. Apollo 13 to me was more of the most memorable things that NASA ever did. To me, it's one of their greatest achievements. It's a failure by and large, but of course it was a successful failure because the astronauts came home. But on January 28th, 1986, just over a minute after launch, we lost several astronauts in the Columbia disaster. I'm sorry, in Challenger disaster, just off the launch pad. The book that Diane Vaughn put together in her investigation about what happened in the wake of that accident is called The Challenger Launch Decision. Now, if you've never read this book, it is a very, very thick, hardy book. If you're into corporate culture, read the book. If you're into space history, read the book. If you're just into awesome science facts, read the book. The large crux of it is the basic thing is what went into the decision that morning after what was an unusually frigid, cold night here in Florida, as to what led them to basically go or no go for that launch. Had things gone a different way, had there not been pressure from upper management at NASA and other places to sort of get this off the ground, because again, if you guys remember, this is Chris McAuliffe, teacher in space, the whole big thing. There was a lot of incentive to get this mission to go, and the decisions that fell in that wake are just all revealed in this book. It's a riveting book. It's amazing. Tons of data. The research is absolutely incredible. Diane did a fantastic job. It's in paperback form if you're into that, but if I suggest get the hardcover because just the flaps are amazing. The Challenger Launch Decision by Dan Vaughn. Really quickly, you can find me on Twitter. The handle is ECFix, ECFIX. And last but not least, I now have a new podcast. Tomorrow, when we go live with this video on April 17th, it is our 11th show of the Call Me Curious podcast. It's a 10-minute podcast. That's it, 10 minutes. 10 minutes, 10 minutos, where I give you facts about the universe and everything in it. We have things, for example, on the next show, we have subjects on inventions and patents, hypocrisy, good tippers, all kinds of stuff. For example, I'll release this nugget on today. Do you know what the Q in Q-tip stands for?
I'm sure you're going to tell us.
Well, does anybody here know what it is?
Okay.
The Q stands for quality. So when you clean your ears or a baby's nose or whatever, you're using what's called quality tips. You're welcome. Oh. Right? These are weird things we discover in the show. We talk about all kinds of cool things. If you want to go now to listen to the prior episodes, less than an hour and a half. That's it. You could listen to a murder podcast for 2 hours and get less information than I'm going to give you in 30 minutes. So yeah, 10-minute shows, Call Me Curious, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Breaker,
in your
everywhere.
Car, it's all there.
Everywhere.
I can vouch for it. We listen to it religiously. We love the show. You know what? For a person who's doing a podcast for his very first time, the quality is outstanding.
Thank you.
So
it sounds like you've been doing it for 10 years. It's definitely
I will make sure you guys get your $20 when the show is over. Thank you so much.
It is excellent. By the way, I should mention that if anybody wants to follow Marc, you can just follow him on Twitter or YouTube, Marc Benton. Sorry, I didn't mean to take your thunder here. Now, my product recommendation was going to be exactly what Eric said, which was the cup holder insert. God, I love mine. It's amazing. You know what? It's one of the least expensive accessories you can make that makes a huge difference in your life. So I can certainly vouch for it. Anyways, enough about that. Book. What am I listening to? Well, I have a bunch of stuff I'm listening to right now, but I'm going to make a recommendation based on a movie that I just watched with my wife this week. And it is a Stephen King book called Full Dark, No Stars. It's 4 short stories. Now, if you're a Stephen King fan, you'll find that sometimes his short stories are actually better than the long stuff. And this is certainly no case. This was released a number of years ago, but more specifically, the audiobook version. Oh my God. It's written, it's actually read by the actor named Craig Wasson. And my God, does he ever bring the characters to life like you've never heard in your life. I highly recommend, just go to audible.com, look up Full Dark, No Stars, and listen to the sample. You'll be sold instantly. Fantastic book. 4 stories. One of them, the first one is called 1922. They made a Netflix movie about. I won't ruin it for you. Definitely watch it, but the book is amazing. Anyways, that's my recommendation. Full Dark, No Stars by Stephen King. Big fan. Anyways, so that brings us basically to the end of the show. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter, and the handle is Tesla Owners Online. Don't forget to check out the forum at teslaownersonline.com. It's the best place to talk about Tesla stuff. And I also want to say thank you to our 3 sponsors, the guys at Dulaban Insurance, Fine Lab Ceramic Coatings, and the guys at EvanX, who make awesome Tesla accessories. Any closing thoughts, guys, or is this it?
I actually forgot to plug a book that I want to recommend.
Oh, please do.
Yes. So a friend of ours, some of you know him. He's local here in South Florida. He's a big space fanatic, and he's also a writer, brand new author. He just published a book. His book is called Mars Mission 1. It's a sci-fi thriller. It's insane. I recommend it. I haven't finished it yet, but it's a really good book. I think it's available in Amazon. Mm-hmm. Again, his name is Chris Lee Jones. He goes by the Twitter handle Launchpad3.
Cool.
And his book is called Mars Mission 1. It's really, really good. I recommend it.
Very good. I'll put that in the link. So links to all the books and all of our recommendations will be in the podcast. It'll take me a little longer to get out because I got to fish them up. But anyways, that's pretty much it. Thanks for everybody for joining us, Marc and Rafael for joining on the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, no problem. Anytime. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for listening, guys. And please stay safe out there. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Bonsoir tout le monde.
Thanks to all the doctors, nurses, everybody out there. Thank you.
Tip your cashiers. Ciao.